I made a couple of videos several days ago about the cancellation of Stargate and why it was canceled. And it was announced by Variety. The reason why it was canceled was because of a distribute issue between the writers, creators, and the executives. And the executives were feeling like Stargate was going to be too targeted at the fans and not enough to the newer fans. But I found this article. It was posted on June 4th. Today is June 6th. And this was written by IGN. And it says, Stargate veteran disputes the reason of the Amazon shock cancellation of the series revival. And it says here, Variety broke the news that Amazon had just walked away from its greenlit Stargate series, and uncertain it would appeal to a wider viewership beyond the existing Stargate fans. Now, veteran Stargate writer Joseph Mallozzi hit back on that claim. So he says, nope, no, sorry, gonna have to push back on this. We were ever mindful of creating a show that would have a broad appeal. Joseph Mallozzi continues. Martin Garrow developed a new Stargate series over 2 years, ultimately crafting a show that offered a fresh jumping on for new viewers while deeply respecting the existing canon. Mallozzi revealed it was a series that avoided the pitfalls of several modern remakes and reboots by fully embracing the core of its predecessors: action, adventure, exploration, wonder, heart, humor, and found family. And based on creative vision, the new Stargate series was greenlit in November of 2025. As of today, officially, that original vision is no more. We'll never get the opportunity to introduce you to that world and those characters, or reintroduce you to and check in with some familiar faces from the past. Now, the reason why I bring this up is I'm really interested in this section, specifically where he says never. We'll never get the opportunity to introduce you to the world of those characters. Now, never is an absolute. It's not maybe next week if you really just press Amazon. It doesn't say, well, not right now, but, in 2 years, once we come up with a new concept. It doesn't say that either. It doesn't say, try harder. That's none of it. It says never. And not only does it say never, but it says will never. Joseph Mallozzi will never. Martin Garrow will never. Which is, it leaves us as fans in a really big pickle, because we don't want this to be canceled. We want this show. The reason we want this show is because we know we can trust the writers, we can trust the creators to make a really good show, not only respecting the 300 and whatever episodes that already exist, that we know they'll respect that, but also though, we know they'll respect us. They'll respect what we want a Stargate show to be. And the problem with this is it leaves several things optional, which we don't want. Starting with a new reboot. A completely new series based on nothing that has to do with any of the canon, including the original movies, including 300 something episodes. The reboot, in theory, not saying it's announced at all, so please don't write Amazon, but it leaves the opportunity of that. And none of us as Stargate fans really want that. There's way too much. Atlantis was a cliffhanger, Universe was a cliffhanger, and there's a lot to explore within the canon that already exists, and don't want it. And also though, when it says will never, we also know that means that potentially the team that was going to work on this project is not going to be on any future Stargate project. We'll never get the opportunity. Now, perhaps it could mean, ambiguously, just for this particular show, we'll never get the opportunity, but in the future, maybe. But there's none of that, and that's all assumption, so we can't go based on that. Which I don't like it. Another unsettling thought is how long will it take for another series to come out? Because this one took 2 years of pre-production for it to be finally lit in November. They were already in pre-screening casting, and then they were going to start filming in November, October, somewhere in there. So now we have to wait another 2 years for an entirely new concept to come up, which could be a reboot, but it could also be a complete refurbishing of what Stargate is. Honestly, if they do that, I don't want it, because we don't need anything else. We need this, because I can't imagine rewriting over 10 years of lore, and I say over 10 years because it was longer than 10 years, just to satisfy whatever it is. Another potential that I wonder, and this is just assumption, and this is just hearsay, and this is potential just gossip, so keep that with what you will. I wonder on some small level, again, I wonder, no canon here, but I wonder if this is about AI. Just a little bit. I only wonder that because a lot of studios are trying to push AI right now, and the involvement of AI into Craftsman and work. And to be fair, there's already been AI in work for God knows how long. Even Disney has used AI in some of the most loved Marvel films. But We don't want that either as a Stargate franchise. Like, I'm not saying that AI can't be used usefully, but I don't want it. Not in my Stargate. You can put it in a Marvel film, sure, but not in Stargate. Oh God, I don't know. Finally, with the last thought that I have, anger is a really good motivator. It gets you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. At least for me. I'm not saying everyone's motivated by anger, but I'd say that a lot of times that I'm putting things off, anger is actually that gets me to do the thing that I've been putting off. So when you have a group of fans from a very loved franchise, very angry, it is a great motivator to do a lot of good things. And I'm not talking about writing executives and complaining. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not a good thing. That does nothing. I'm talking about getting people mobilized, getting people on the same train to do things without having information. What went wrong here? Why it was canceled? It's really hard to mobilize to do something about this because, you know, if the argument was we need to show Amazon that there are more people outside of the fandom who want new Stargate by Martin Garrow and Joseph Mallozzi, then we can do it. This leaves us with, again, unanswered questions. We have a bunch of wonders of what's going on or why this has happened, but it's really hard to mobilize. Like, if you're fighting an enemy and you don't know what the enemy is, again, I'm not saying Amazon's the enemy, but it's really hard to contradict a belief about why it should be canceled. It's really hard to fight that belief if you don't even know why it was canceled in the first place. So it leaves us in a very weird spot. And I will say this, even if that's the case, sign a petition. Do it. Sign a petition, maybe plan outings with people in your local area that are huge fans, but as of right now, there isn't more information on this, so we'll just leave it here.